Hey, sixth graders, this is Mrs. Zimmerman here, and I've got another lesson for us on equations. Except today, instead of doing addition and subtraction, we're going to solve equations using multiplication and division. So we're going to use the exact same skills that you watched or that you learned in the last video, and instead we're just going to multiply and divide, okay? So here's the slides, and I'm going to head right up to the front. Let's look. The very first example here says to solve the equation using division. Well, what does that mean? Let's take a look. We have 65 equals 5b. Okay, so if you remember, we go all the way back to the last video. We have to do the inverse operation. So these two numbers right next to each other, the 5 and the b, what does that tell us to do? Two numbers right next to each other tell us to multiply, right? So if I need to multiply 5 times a number to get 65, well, how would I figure that out? What's the opposite of multiply? Divide. So we're just going to do the opposite of whatever it says. Now, just like when you're adding and subtracting, it is very important that you show all of your work. So here's what we're going to do. We have to divide on both sides, remember, because we have to make it equal on both sides. So if you remember, a fraction means to divide. So I'm going to divide by 5 and divide by 5, because if I do it to one side over here, I have to do it on the left side as well. Okay, these 5s are going to cancel, so the only thing left is b equals, and then we just do the math. What's 65 divided by 5? Well, we know that's 13, so we know 13 equals b. Now, just like the other type of equation, if you want to check your work, you could just come right over here and see, well, we know 65 is 65. 5 times 13, I know that's 65. So, yes, those are both equal. That is my correct answer. Let's do another one. Here we have p times 3 equals 18. Okay, we're multiplying p times 3. So what's the opposite of this multiplication? Divide. So what am I going to divide by? I'm not going to divide by p because that's what I'm trying to figure out. What I am going to divide by is 3. So divide by 3 and divide by 3. Now you might be able to do this in your head, and that is awesome, but you still need to practice showing your work because these problems are only going to get harder as we go. Okay, my 3's are going to cross off and cancel each other. So all I have left on the left side is p equals 18 divided by 3 is 6. So p equals 6. Let's try another one. All right, we have 12q equals 60. Okay, well, what do we have? It's 12 times q. So what's the opposite of multiply? We are going to divide by 12 on both sides. If you don't do it on both sides, it's not going to work. My 12s are going to cancel, and all I have left over here is a q equals, what's 60 divided by 12? Well, if you don't know, you could grab your calculator, do some math off to the side, but I know that it's 5. So I know that q equals 5. Okay, next one. I have 81 equals 9 times r. Ooh, okay, well, the side that my variable on is on the right, so I know that that's what I'm going to be dividing. I'm going to try and get that r all by itself. So I'm going to divide by 9 on both sides, cross off my 9's, and all I have left is r equals 81 divided by 9 is 9. Okay. All right. So hopefully, this makes a little bit of sense. You're going to divide on both sides because that's the opposite of multiply. So let's take a look at the other type of problem. Okay. And that's going to be, a division problem. Okay, so here you can see that I have W divided by 4 equals 12, right? Because remember, this is a fraction, and what does a fraction mean? To divide. So this right here is the same thing as W divided by 4, exact same. So with that in mind, this is a division problem. So what's the opposite of divide? We know that's multiply. So I'm going to multiply by 4 on both sides. These 4s are going to cancel. So all I have left is W on the left side. And then we know 12 times 4 is 48. So W equals 48. In this type of problem as well, let's just substitute it in. I said it equals 48, so let's see. 48 divided by 4, grab my calculator, I know that's 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yes, I know I'm correct. All right. Next one. Oh, there it goes, okay. A divided by 8 equals 6. Okay, so the 8 is with my variable, so I know I need to times by 8 on both sides. And I'm just going to write it like this. Okay, I'm going to draw my line. And what's going to cancel on my left side? The 8's. So I have A equals, what's 6 times 8? We know that's 48. Okay. Here's another one. 4 equals T divided by 4. So it doesn't matter which side the division problem is on, you're going to solve it the exact same way. Okay? We have a divide by 4 right here, right? So to reverse that, I'm going to times by 4. My 4's on this side cancel because I want just the T left. Equals, what's 4 times 4 over here? 16. So I know that T equals 16. Okay, now this is a different type of problem. Okay, these are what we call two-step. Equations, okay? So here we have 14 equals 2y divided by 5. Now this 2 and y right next to each other means to multiply, right? And this line here means to divide. So I have two operations, right? Two-step, I have a multiplication and a division here. So what am I going to do first? Well, the idea is that we need to get the y all by itself, right? Because that's what we did here. We're trying to get the variable, the t, the a, all by themselves. So our end goal is to be y, all by itself on this side. So how are we going to do that? Okay, the first thing you're going to do is undo the fraction. Okay, the divide by 5, we're just going to times by 5 on both sides. Nice and easy. Keep it like this. Okay, my 5's are going to cancel over here. So all I have left is 2y. You'll have to keep the 2 there, okay? And then on the left side, we're going to multiply 14 times 5, and that's 70. Okay, I'm not done yet because my y still isn't all by itself. So if I have 2 times y, the opposite of times is to divide by 2. And I'm going to have to do that on both sides. So I'm going to cross off these 2's, and what do I have left? Just my y, which I already wrote down. And what's 70 divided by 2? 35. So y equals 35. Ooh, that was good. All right, let's try another one just like that. Try and get the hang of it. Okay, we have 6 equals 2y divided by 3. So the very first thing I'm going to do is get rid of this fraction. And in order to do that, I have to times by 3 on both sides. All right? Now, these 3's are going to cancel. So all I have over here is 2y equals, what's 3 times 6? 18. Okay, I'm not done because I still have a 2 next to the y. So how do I get rid of that 2? The opposite of multiply is to divide. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. My 2's are going to cancel, and I have y equals, what's 18 divided by 2? Well, we know that's 9. Okay. Hopefully this is making a little bit of sense for you. Let's try just one more like that. Okay, so here we've got 3w divided by 20 equals 12. First step, you should know we're going to get rid of this fraction. And in order to do that, I have to times by 20 on both sides. Okay? So, cross off my 20s. And all I have left is 3w equals 12 times 20. Well, I know 12 times 2 is 24. Just add on the 0. So I have 240. Okay? Now I have 3 times w equals 240. How do I get rid of this 3? I have to divide, do the inverse. So I'm going to divide both sides by 3. My 3's are going to cancel, and all I'm going to have left on this side is a w. Okay? Now, what's 240 divided by 3? Well, I know 24 divided by 3 is 8. And then just bring down the 0, it's going to be 80. Okay? Hopefully, if you've got some questions, you can watch these examples again. But we're going to move on, and we're going to look at a story problem. Okay? So, a driver travels 2,500 miles at a rate of 500 miles per day. Write and solve an equation problem, multiplication problem, to find how many days it takes to complete the trip. Okay, first thing they want us to do is to write an equation. And they even tell us they want it to be a multiplication problem. So we know it's going to be an equation, so it has to have an equal sign. And we know that we're going to be multiplying. They told us that, right? So let's think about it. I'm traveling 2,500 miles. If that's the total distance that I'm traveling, is that going to be on the problem side or the answer side of the equal sign? That's going to be over here on the answer side. Okay? Now let's look at what it says. We're traveling at a rate of 500 miles per day. Well, I know per means to multiply. And I know I'm multiplying right here. So it's going to be 500 miles times however many days I travel. So that's step 1, is to write the equation. Step 2 says to solve it. So let's solve my equation. I'm going to have 500 times d equals 2,500. So I've got a multiplication problem. So what's the opposite of multiply? We're going to be dividing. So we're going to divide by 500 and divide by 500 on both sides. What's going to cancel out here? My 500s are on this side. All I'm left with is d. And I know that 25 divided by 5 is 5. And those zeros will cancel out. So I know my trip is going to take me 5 days. All right? Let's take a look at one more example. Okay. You have been saving $12 each week for many weeks. You decide to count your savings and find that you have $384. Write and solve a multiplication equation to find how many weeks you have been saving. Okay, this is very similar to the last one. The first thing they want us to do is to write a multiplication equation. So we have an equal sign, and we're going to have a multiplication. Now, I'm saving $12 each week, and I have a total savings of $384. So is my total savings going to be on the problem side or the answer side? It's the answer. That's how much money I have altogether, right? And if I'm making $12 each week, each is another term to multiply, so we know we're going to be doing 12 times W for weeks. After this, they want us to solve. So we're going to do 12 times W equals 384. Okay, what's the opposite of multiply? Well, we know that's going to be divide. So we're going to divide by 12 on both sides. My 12s are going to cancel. So what I'm left with is W equals 384 divided by 12. You could go off to the side and solve that. I just grabbed my calculator, and my calculator said that that was 32. So how many weeks have I been saving? I've been saving for 32 weeks. And I save $12 each week, so that gets me at $384. Okay, so hopefully those make a little bit more sense. If you need a little bit more work, you can always rewatch these and pause. Otherwise, good luck.